As consciousness expands, something subtle yet profound begins to happen. Your life becomes the lesson. Not because you intend it, not because you wish to teach anyone, but because the frequency you carry shapes the space around you. People respond not to your advice, but to your being. They feel your coherence. They sense your alignment. They recognize, often without knowing why, that something in your presence invites them into themselves. At the highest levels of awareness, teaching is no longer a role. It is a natural expression of an integrated life. It is teaching without teaching. Most teaching in the world operates through information, explaining a concept, offering instructions, correcting mistakes. Useful, but limited. Information doesn't transform people, consciousness does. You can know what to do and still be unable to do it. You can understand an idea but not embody its truth. Transformation requires a shift at the level of being, not intellect. If someone is anchored in fear, no amount of explanation will free them. If someone is rooted in shame, no volume of knowledge creates self-worth. If someone is living through old identity, insight alone does not liberate. Awareness must move from the mind into the nervous system, the cells, the breath. This is why the most powerful teachers are not necessarily the most educated, they are the most embodied. What they transmit goes far beyond what they say. Every human being emits a frequency, a pattern of awareness, intention, emotion, and history. This frequency is not metaphorical. It is biological, psychological, and energetic. Others feel it before you speak. When you are rooted in fear, you generate contraction. When you are rooted in truth, you generate coherence. When you are rooted in love, you generate openness. This is why someone calm can calm a room. This is why someone anxious can agitate a room. This is why someone grounded can stabilize a group. People learn from your nervous system more vividly than from your words. Your alignment becomes a tuning fork for others. This is teaching without teaching. One of the most overlooked forms of teaching is allowing. When you no longer need to fix, persuade, or prove, you create space for another person's own wisdom to awaken. Interference assumes weakness. Allowing assumes strength. Interference says, I know what you need. Allowing says, you already know, I trust you. When you stop directing other people's journeys, they finally meet themselves. You don't guide them to a truth, you create a space where their truth can surface. This is teaching through trust. Questions are doorways. When you offer a question instead of an answer, you invite someone to step into their own awareness. A genuine question disrupts habitual thinking. These questions awaken the part of a person that has been dormant, the part that already knows. This is teaching through ignition, not instruction. Silence is an amplifier of consciousness. Most people fear silence because it reveals what they've been avoiding. But once you are comfortable with your own inner world, silence becomes a powerful ally. A single moment of grounded silence can teach more than a paragraph of advice. Silence gives others the room to reflect, to breathe, to sense themselves again. In silence, the truth becomes audible. This is teaching through presence, not noise. Some people lead through authority. Others lead through force. A few lead through clarity. But those who teach without teaching lead through alignment. There is no push, no resistance, no expectation. Instead, there is coherence, a state where your entire system is unified. Coherence is contagious. When you walk into a room grounded, others ground. When you walk into a room in integrity, others rise. When you walk into a room with an open heart, others soften. This effect is not mystical. It is the natural impact of someone whose inner world is harmonious. The deeper your consciousness, the more your behavior unconsciously invites others into alignment. This is teaching through resonance. There is a misconception that higher consciousness means perfection. But the most powerful teaching often comes from embodied humanity. When you are open about your fears, your mistakes, your past beliefs, not as performance, but as authenticity, you show others that growth is not about being flawless. You demonstrate that liberation includes the human messiness, not the denial of it. Your vulnerability becomes an invitation. Your honesty creates permission. Your humanity becomes a guide. This is teaching through openness. Instruction tells people what to do. Embodiment shows people what is possible. When you live the principles you value presence, clarity, compassion, truth, boundaries, others learn far more effectively. These moments are transmissions. People learn not from your explanations, but from how you inhabit life. Many believe teaching happens in sacred spaces, workshops, or retreats. But the deepest teaching happens in the mundane. The ordinary reveals your true consciousness. And humans learn by watching patterns, not listening to speeches. Every small act becomes a ripple. Every moment becomes a lesson. There are moments when what you don't say teaches more than what you do. Not responding to drama. Not feeding fear. Not escalating conflict. Not defending yourself unnecessarily. Not participating in old patterns. This restraint communicates clarity, sovereignty, and groundedness. Your boundaries become instruction. Your choices become maps. Your silence becomes guidance. This is teaching through non-reactivity. Compassion is not rescuing. Compassion is not fixing. Compassion is not sacrificing. Compassion is the ability to be present with another person's experience without losing yourself or needing them to change. You hold them with understanding while trusting their inner wisdom. This teaches others how to hold themselves. It teaches strength without rigidity, care without codependency, presence without control. This is teaching through unconditionality. Spaciousness is a high state of consciousness where you offer another person room to breathe, room to think, room to feel, room to be imperfect, room to grow. Spaciousness communicates. You are allowed to unfold. This is the opposite of pressure. It is the opposite of micromanagement. It is the opposite of ego-driven guidance. Spaciousness teaches people to trust themselves again. This is teaching through freedom. People evolve when they feel safe, they feel seen, they feel supported, they feel the possibility of something greater, and they feel the truth within themselves. You cannot give someone transformation. You can only create the conditions for them to access their own. The more coherent your consciousness, the more naturally you create those conditions. Much of the world still operates at levels of fear, scarcity, and survival. People are taught to obey, conform, and perform, not to awaken. Teaching without teaching is the antidote. When you embody alignment, you show others a world beyond the old one. Your presence becomes evidence of what is possible when someone lives with awareness. This is the kind of teaching the world needs most, not as curriculum, but as consciousness in action. In the highest expression of this path, you do not see yourself as a teacher, and you do not see others as students. You see human beings discovering their own truth. You live your truth so fully that others feel permission to find theirs. You move through the world with such clarity that others remember their own. You embody freedom so naturally that others question their limitations. You don't teach. You don't push. You don't convince. You don't impose. You simply are. And in your being, others awaken. This is teaching without teaching. It is the purest form of service.